In the red corner, standing at 6 feet 3 inches tall and stepping on the scales at a scary 250 pounds, it's the British treasure, Frank Bruno. Frank would be coming into this fight with 44 fights to his name, with 39 wins and one of the greatest knockout records of all time. Bruno would be challenging for the WBC heavyweight title, and not for the first time. At nearly 34 years of age, this was Bruno's last hurrah at the top. Pacing in the opposite corner, an animal of a fighter and the reigning heavyweight champion. Standing at 6 feet 2 and weighing in 237 pounds, it's the atomic bull, Oliver McCall. The champ would be coming into this fight on the back of beating two of the greatest of all time. Knocking out Lennox Lewis in just 2 rounds and besting the Eastern assassin, Larry Holmes. Could Frank Bruno do the unthinkable and steal the heavyweight crown and put the critics to bed, or would the champion of the hour run through Bruno like he did his fellow countryman just 12 months before? This truly was Frank Bruno's last hurrah for combat sport's ultimate prize, the World Heavyweight Boxing Championship.
You know what I mean, with the championship, I'm not going to let it go to my head or nothing like that. My feet are still going to be on the ground, but that is my dream, that is my destiny, that is always what I wanted to do, you know.
Frank Bruno had long been one of Britain's most beloved boxers, known as much for his charismatic personality as for his powerful presence in the ring. A towering heavyweight with a signature powerful punch, Bruno had a remarkable career in the 1980s and early 1990s, but it was defined as much by his struggles as by his triumphs. He had previously had 3 unsuccessful attempts at securing a world title. In 1986, he faced Tim Witherspoon for the WBA heavyweight title, only to be defeated in the 11th round. A fight he was favourite to win with both the home fans and the bookmakers. 3 years later, in 1989, Bruno squared off against Kid Dynamite, who was then at the peak of his career. Although Bruno put up a brave fight, and for the first time in the young champion's career, it seemed he was wobbled. The American overpowered Bruno in the mid-stages of the fight. This fight would see Frank out of the ring for 2 years with an eye injury.
Lash against his skull, and a beautiful uppercut there from Tyson, and Bruno in big trouble now. It's all over.
Upon his return and tipping the scales 20 pounds heavier than when he left the sport, Frank would challenge for his 3rd title attempt, this time against Lennox Lewis in 1993. This would end in a similar disappointment, with Lewis defeating him in the 7th round.
You may be watching the last moments in the career of one of Britain's most popular fighters.
It has to be said, Frank got the best of Lewis throughout the fight. In the 3 title attempts, Frank would come up short on all 3 occasions in knockout fashion. With all the setbacks, injuries and media slander, the fans and Bruno would never give up hope on becoming the heavyweight world champion. By the time of his 4th attempt against Oliver McCall, Bruno was 33 years old and his career was nearing its twilight. The pressure to finally capture a world title was immense, not only for his personal redemption, but also for the pride of British fans, who had stood by him for years. Ranked 6th in the world, Bruno was gifted a 4th crack of the whip.
But I'm a mean man. Okay. I'm a bad man. I'm a madman.
Oliver McCall, on the other hand, had gained a reputation as a gnarly opponent and a resilient fighter. Known as the Atomic Bull, McCall was not a typical boxing celebrity, but had a unique background that made him one of the most unpredictable and dangerous fighters in the division.
All they're going to do is try to hit me with illegal back head shots, which he do on every fight. He'll grab you with the left hand, and he hit you here, backhand. So
he had been a sparring partner for Iron Mike, an experience that many believed helped McCall develop his hard-hitting style. In 1994, McCall shocked the boxing world by defeating Lennox Lewis to capture the WBC heavyweight title. McCall's victory over Lewis had established him as a legitimate force. But his reputation outside the ring was a cause for concern. He had well-publicised battles with addiction and erratic behaviour, which led many to question his ability to maintain his title. The pre-fight build-up around the fight, therefore, was not just about punching power, but about mental resilience. It would come to light with both fighters in their later lives that personal struggles created uncertainty about their focus and ability to maintain a clear mind. Factors that would play a significant role in the fight's outcome and their personal life to come. Fight night and the night of September 2nd, 1995, British boxing fans would hold their breath with anticipation. The venue, home of the England football team, Wembley Stadium. Could Frank Bruno finally put his demons to bed and punch his way to heavyweight gold? Or would the hard-hitting American be too much for the ageing Brit and send him back to the stages of Panto with his tail between his legs? Eagle Eye fans will remember a certain middleweight world champion as Bruno's flag bearer, and the world-famous Grenadier Guard marching band would play out as Frank made his hyped entrance to the ring.
Very experienced American. Here we go. Can Frank do it? The build-up, McCall threatened to do one. Bruno already getting to work behind.
Yes, for me, that's what he has to do. He has to rely on that jab. Sticking out, it's a solid weapon, and he's landing it well now, Ian.
He says that he won't be the first to take a back step. Bruno catches him with a left hook on the left hand again. He's sparred 300 rounds. Has been the case in his previous world title attempts, except the one against Tyson. Again, the left
hook, he's landed a couple of times, looked good. Big right hand.
That rocked McCall back. He's punching already, I fancy here, McCall.
And that's what he's doing.
This is a different kind of Bruno.
The end of the first, Bruno would hear a roar from the home crowd. Bruno started with a cautious but determined approach, working behind a stiff jab to establish control. He kept his distance, using his reach advantage, and landed some strong jabs early on.
Very well in that round.
Second round, and Bruno. Before getting the gloves up. Apart in 3 other challenges.
There seems to be a little bit of swelling around McCall's left eye.
Might have been ticket selling. This is a real welt there. Come to that.
So much sparring, been in the Tyson camp so long, but I thought if Bruno could hit him with a good punch earlier.
That hit the gloves of McCall, that left. Pounds through again.
Not getting any of his punches off, and it's all coming from Bruno.
Key moment is referee Perez to McCall. Bruno's round again.
Round 2 would bring Bruno's continued use of the jab and landing a few solid right hands. McCall attempted to counter but struggled to find his rhythm against Bruno's consistent pressure. Bruno maintained his distance well, avoiding any major exchanges. McCall had a few moments, but Bruno's output and accuracy kept him in control.
From Bruno.
Third round. Occasion. He's finding it very against Desart Charles.
He's got to use it, and then he's got the power behind that.
Now we're going to see McCall slowly work his way into the fight.
Well, I'm sure McCall's got a bit to do yet because he's hardly done anything at all. He's not really looking at Bruno.
Again, Bruno with a decent-looking left hand. And the right cross too. And the right uppercut's a great shot too from Bruno. And McCall is quite...
The left hooks work good and the right uppercut.
McCall getting his gloves up.
It's the one good thing that McCall has is he has good punching power.
The third would see more from the champion. McCall began to show more aggression in this round, looking to break Bruno's rhythm. He landed a few solid punches, testing Bruno's defense. However, Bruno remained composed and stuck to his jab, staying on the outside and using his reach.
Good fight so far for Bruno.
Here's round 4. So far, everything to Bruno.
Had a bit of success with that jab. Cole just getting a little bit more success and starting to get in the fight a little.
He expected it. Might be tonight. Can Bruno last 12 rounds? Spinners the 11 with Tim Witherspoon. Against Phil Brown.
You get a very physical fight. You wonder about, you know,
Okay, everything going to plan. But is it?
The fourth would see Bruno assert himself more, landing some powerful combos as McCall tried to close the gap. McCall took the punches well, but seemed frustrated by Bruno's control of distance and pace. Bruno's jab and occasional right hand were effective, and he appeared comfortable, moving smoothly around the ring.
Just in recent times, more recent times anyway. Nigel Benn has been
to try and plant his feet and land one big punch.
World flyweight champion. McCall to maybe just wait and see if Bruno does run out of gas again.
Burn himself out in the early rounds and just try to soak it up and guard it.
Boundary just cut. There will be. Yeah, they've got to put that back because it. George Francis, his family, they're getting on for 7 weeks now. Yes, they're just about ready to go on now.
Explode into a bit more action at some point. Landed there with good solid left hand. He's starting to get closer and closer to
the champion landed a few good shots in the fifth, applying more pressure and attempting to turn the fight into a brawl. Bruno took some hard punches but remained steady, keeping the Yank at bay with his jab. Despite the onslaught, Bruno showed resilience and composure.
But we're just entering this phase of the fight where you start.
I've got Frank in a very good.
Apart from that mark underneath his left eye, he seems. Oh, that's a tremendous right uppercut by Bruno. McCall.
Yes, one of the good things for Bruno so far is he's man.
The halfway point in the fight would see the fans wonder, could Frank Bruno go on and win the WBC Heavyweight Championship? As fans, we had been there so many times before, not wanting to get our hopes up that the real people's champ could take that final step out of British boxing history and join the ranks in the world's greatest fighters.
And answers coming up into the second half of the contest. The jab.
Nice move from Bruno. Just a nice little chip shot.
Bruno is just beginning to breathe a little more heavier now.
On a big punch.
Can McCall get through the... Again, a heavy-looking head.
So again, this is all good for Bruno.
The fight was firmly in Frank's hands, but he was holding back. Frank's size and power should have been enough to put the champion to bed, but it seemed he would hold back through fear of either gassing out or getting caught with one he didn't see.
To victory. Luck might start to really go for it, start to gamble, and that is going to be...
In any sort of trouble, he's got to land with shots.
Ooh, the heads seem to come dangerously close together there. But with Tony Perez not happy with something that Bruno was doing inside. He's been mostly head hunting. Training, I think that's a little sign of confidence maybe from him that he feels he can do that.
It's just a southpaw. He could leave himself open to that shot.
Yes, he could walk on. Bruno still boxing out of the southpaw starts.
That was seeing Bruno really thinking there. He's a lot looser.
Now he's back. Southpaw again.
Every time the bell sounded, the crowd would cheer louder, knowing Bruno was one step closer to the championship. The eighth would see Frank regain control in this round by re-establishing his jab and keeping McCall at a distance. He picked his shots carefully, landing clean punches and avoiding McCall's counters.
Ninth round, key thing, I think. Mostly they've been better quality. Now McCall...
He must be starting to come in a little bit. We're into the ninth round now, and he's special.
I think the question...
The seconds rest.
Then the tape coming a bit loose, this time on Bruno's left glove. Gained greater know-how and manoeuvrability and boxing savvy as he...
Different things, and he's done them well. Really, he just has to keep relaxed and loose.
John Morris, the same world title for everything he's done for British boxing. But if it was from Bruno... So far, so outboxed McCall. And outpunched him.
With the rowdy London crowd chanting Frank Bruno's name and no one chanting louder than good friend and fellow champion Nigel Benn. The atmosphere was beginning to feel like a true football stadium in England were on the verge of winning the World Cup.
In the past, George hammered the likes of John Conte, and
that's a key weapon. That's keeping McCall off balance. He's not allowing himself.
And there's a rising tide of noise now.
Trying to pick it up a little bit more now, trying to charge in.
The biggest letdown of all the world title fights he's had, wouldn't it? And he said before the fight, I'm bigger, I'm fitter, I'm more focused. Note against Lewis that given one gap, he could explode it and end all for
handcuffs on him, as they say, and tying them on.
It's good defence about this place at the moment. Ringside.
The 10th would see ring generalship in full swing. Bruno would throw just enough to win the round, then tie his man up so nothing could slip through. The crowd would burst with excitement with every big punch landed. But Bruno had been here before.
Came back and started landing some decent punches himself. So this
red letter round for Bruno. It was in the 11th that it went. Stamina. It hasn't let him down yet. McCall caught on the way in by a crunching right hand. Out a little distress signal.
Yes, he's warning the referee to break them earlier.
Oh, he's let go with another one as well. These are bad moments for Bruno.
Haven't been there.
Left uppercut was a dangerous punch too from McCall. Caution and let the punches fly, and would hope that he could charge from the atomic ball, or has he got more?
Fight for McCall. He's landed with some good punch a little bit now.
Caught again, Bruno. For him.
But the good thing from Bruno's point is he is tying McCall. If he's trying to buy as much.
The championship rounds would see McCall with a second wind. He could see that it was his fight to lose and he was going to have to go down swinging from the hip. Bruno would hold and tie his man up like he was slow dancing, but with each second that ticked by, he was one step closer.
He didn't against Bone Crusher Smith in his first heavyweight champion of the world. I'm sure of that. Can he hold on?
Try everything here.
Bruno's breathing more heavily now. He'll hold.
Doing the right thing here.
Have got butterflies in their stomach. It's almost nerve-wracking here. They've been at ringside for just about every fight.
And all he's got to do now is just try and mess McCall about, try and survive. He breaks him.
He's come forward. He's been clever enough, and he wouldn't have been earlier in his career, to tie him. But Bruno is gold dust now. Very, very short list. He has, 40 seconds to survive. Blood coming from Bruno's mouth. He's breathing heavily at the dice. Bruno is Bell's going to go any second. Bruno must be a mile ahead on point, and he must have been. The man comes into the ring and lifts him high. Frank Warren punches the air.
Of the winner and new
I was recently asked, what is my favourite fight of all time? The Frank Bruno versus Oliver McCall match didn't have the punch rate of Hagler Hearns or the glamour of Rumble in the Jungle. But for true British boxing fans who were ringside, watched at home or listened to it on BBC Radio, will know that was the closest feeling to winning the belt themselves. That is what Frank Bruno did to a nation. Frank, you made more grown men cry that night than a decade of heartbreaks across the nation. 4 times is what was needed, and I can honestly say it was all the more sweeter for the hardship that Frank endured. Mr. Bruno, if you're watching at home, we thank you for the memories.